Welcome back to Yahoo Finance is the ticker. Well, businesses looks like they'll be getting some more flexibility in how they use funds from the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. And to chat more on that, we have Amanda Cohen. She's a James Beard nominated chef and owner of Dirt Candy. We also have Sibile Marcellus joining us for this conversation. Thank you both for joining us to chat about this. So Amanda, I first want to ask you, I know that you've received funds from the PPP program before. How many employees do you have, and how helpful was that program for you through this time of coronavirus?
So I had 33 employees and I laid all of them off. And I actually still have 33 employees that I have laid off. I have not hired a single person back. The PPP was totally unhelpful up until this moment when it was, we made all the changes were made. Unfortunately, I just couldn't figure out how to use it in New York City, which really has been totally shut down.
So Amanda, tell me about the new fixes to the PPP program that the Senate has just approved. Is that going to allow your business to stay open through the end of the year?
Yeah, I hope so. It should allow us to. You know, we have so much more time to use the money, which was the best thing that could have happened to us. I don't see how I could have used it for the first 8 weeks when really we were told not to open. But now New York City is starting to open up, hopefully by July, and I can use it to hire back some of my staff. And then they've changed the split on how you have to use it. So instead of it being 75 for payroll and 25 for rent and everything else, the split makes a lot more sense where I can do 60% on payroll and 40% on utilities and rent and everything else. So the way it was all sort of divided, it just didn't make sense. And now it's a lifeline. It's probably not everything. I don't know if it'll allow me to stay open forever, but certainly through December 31st, it's a huge, huge lifeline.
And tell me about the impact of the coronavirus on workers in terms of their pay, but also their benefits. I know that your restaurant has the distinction of having a no tipping policy, but because of that, you actually pay out higher wages. So what do you think is going to be the impact of all this that we've seen, the devastation?
Well, I actually think that it might be very good for the industry. I think to get people to come back to work, we're going to have to pay them a lot more. And I think maybe we won't be able to hire back as many people, but we will be actually able to pay them more or think about paying more. Because what happened when everybody got laid off is before there was the federal stimulus, there was a real scramble to figure out how anybody was going to live off of their tipped wages. Those aren't part of unemployment. And so my staff was lucky, actually, because we paid them such a high wage. They were at the top end of unemployment before the stimulus happened.
And what kind of fixes do you think we should have going forward? You said that you think you can keep your doors open through the end of the year, but is there anything else that needs to be done for the Paycheck Protection Program to help in restaurant industry overall?
I'm not sure much more can be done with the Paycheck Protection Program, but I do think that restaurants still need a little bit more help. We're places people gather, and I think it's going to be a long time before people feel comfortable gathering again in large groups, even if we're mandated that it's okay to open. It's going to be a long road to get back to where we once were. So really restaurants need a stabilization fund. We need something more to get us through probably the next 18 months until there's some semblance of normalcy again in life.
When you do reopen, what kind of precautions are you actually going to be putting in place in your restaurant? Do you have room to have 6 feet distance between the different tables? Is all the waiter are going to be wearing masks? Are you going to do temperature checks? How are you going to handle it?
We're still figuring that out. I am in New York City. I'll probably be one of the last cities to open and fully open. Yeah, I can certainly have some room between tables. I can have 6 feet, but I used to have 20 tables, and now I'll probably end up with maybe 4. Certainly not enough tables to keep my business running. All my servers will be in masks, probably gloves, and my employees will definitely be getting temperature checks.
Amanda, I know you said that you laid off essentially all of your employees. Is there a phased reopening plan that you perhaps have in mind? Perhaps start with takeout and then move to opening up the restaurant fully?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is starting in July, early July, we will go to takeout and delivery and hopefully some outdoor seating. This is something that will be very new to New York, but we're going to try to use the city streets. I've never had a sidewalk cafe before, but we'll try to figure out something with that and maybe be able to let people eat in the parks. And then maybe come September, October, it feels like the city feels a lot safer. We'll do half capacity or quarter capacity, whatever I'm mandated at, truly. It's mostly up to the city. And, the city, even if I'm mandated to be at 50%, I'm having a hard time believing that I can get 50% of my guests back into the dining room at the moment.
So actually, on that point, I'm really glad that you mentioned it. I know you said that you think that you have the funds to really carry you through to the end of the year. Is more funds critical or necessary to keep you going past 2020 into 2021? I mean, are you at all worried? Are you pessimistic and downbeat about, the future of your restaurant?
I am terrified. I feel a little bit safer until December. But come January 2021, I don't know what I'm going to do. We're not going to have tourism back. I still don't think we're going to be at 100% capacity in restaurants. I think people's finances are going to be very different than they were beforehand. And I don't know how my restaurant will survive without some more help. That's why the stabilization fund is imperative to get us through this time.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about what's happening in New York City with the thousands of protests. Where do you stand on all that as a small business owner, although you are closed right now?
I am closed, and I think they're great. I watch the peaceful protests outside my window every night, and I think it's amazing. And I really hope they continue, and I hope this is a time for change. I really, really hope that finally we can make some change in this country.
All right, Amanda Cohen, owner of Dirt Candy. Thank you so much. Sibile Marcellus, always a pleasure when you join us. Thank you as well.